Woohoo! It's time to get started on Unit 5. Let's start Video 1. Grab your vocab books. Okay, we're going to go through the 5 quadrilaterals that we looked at in class. We're going to learn how to find the area of each one. So we'll start with parallelograms. Remember parallelograms? Parallel sides. We'll get more into that later. But first, we're just looking at how do you find the area, the inside. How much space is taken up in here? Well, let me go through some of the letters. B is going to stand for base. Okay, base. The base is going to be the same length on a parallelogram, top and bottom. H is going to be your height. How tall is it? What is the height? And A stands for area. So to find the area of this parallelogram, you just multiply whatever your base is times your height. Not both bases. Don't multiply both the bases. Just pick one. They'll be the same. And multiply that by the height. Okay, moving on to rectangle. Rectangle. So a rectangle, you might be used to calling the sides of a rectangle length and width. But it really doesn't matter. Base and height, it's the same thing. Okay. Just base and height, we use that for parallelograms and other shapes. So it's easier just to remember base and height. So to find the area of a rectangle, how much of this purple space is taken up here, you would just multiply base times height, just like the parallelogram. So whatever this number is, multiply it by this number. You might be used to length times width. It's the same thing. Okay, moving on to rhombus. So rhombus, we look at the diagonals of a rhombus. So diagonals go from corner to corner. Okay, so we have two diagonals, diagonal 1 and diagonal 2. And the way you find the area is you multiply. You multiply the two diagonals together. So diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. And then whatever you get, just divide your answer by 2. So multiply diagonal 1 and diagonal 2. Multiply these two together. And then whatever you get, just divide your answer by 2. And that's how you find the area of a rhombus. Okay, how about we look at a square? Now squares, you might be used to looking at the sides of a square and calling them sides. Side, side, or length and width. Okay, well we know that they're the same. The base, the height, length, width, side, side. Whatever you call them, you still just multiply them together. So you might be used to side times side, or length times width. Well, we're going to use base and height because that goes with our other quadrilaterals. So base times height will give you the area of the square. Easy enough, right? Okay, let's look at our last quadrilateral, the trapezoid. Trapezoid, we also look at the base and the height. But now we have two bases that we have to worry about because the bases are not the same length. So we have to work with two different size bases. So we have base 1 and base 2. You're welcome to call this one base 1 if you want and this one base 2. It really doesn't matter. And then we also need the height. So how tall is it? Be careful. This right here is not the height. This is not the height. The height is from base 1 to base 2. It's that distance, that length, that forms a right angle with the base. So it has to be this. This is your height, not this. Okay, so our formula is height times the sum of base 1 and base 2. Take that and divide it by 2. So here's the way I like to do it. I just start with adding the two bases together. So add base 1 and base 2. Add those together. Whatever you get, multiply it by the height. take that answer and just divide it by 2. Cut it in half. Okay, and that'll give you the area of your trapezoid. Don't worry, we'll practice. Okay, so go to your notes section. Make sure you title this section Area of Quadrilaterals. Write the directions. Draw your shape with all of your lengths. And we're trying to find the area, so we better give ourselves a spot to write our answer off to the side. Okay, so I'm going to put over here A equals whatever we're going to get for the area. So remember that area for a parallelogram, this is a parallelogram, the area is equal to base times height. Okay, so what number out of these 3 numbers is our base? Do you know? Well, if you said that 16 is our base, you are correct. Which one is our height? Is it the 5 or the 7 inches? Hopefully you said 5. That's our height. So all we have to do is plug in our base, which is 16, and our height, which is 5. Multiply those together, and that gives us 80. Okay, we're talking about area, so it would be 80 square inches. So 80 inches squared. That would be our answer. 80 inches squared. So we just found the area of our parallelogram. Base times height. Okay, on to problem 2. We have to find the area of this rhombus. Do you remember the definition? Or I'm sorry, do you remember how to find the area of a rhombus? Well, let's give ourselves a spot to put our answer once we do find the area. Okay, well, if you forgot, look back at your vocab and you would see that area is equal to diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. Well, D1 and D2 are labeled for us already, so we just have to plug them in. So we would get A equals diagonal 1 is 10 feet, diagonal 2 is 15 feet, and we have to divide that by 2. Okay, well, 10 times 15 is 150. We just have to divide that by 2. 150 divided by 2 is 75. And we're working with feet, so it would be feet squared. So that would be our area, 75 square feet or feet squared. All right, so we just found the area of our rhombus. Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. Okay, last problem. Finding the area of a trapezoid. Trapezoid. So this formula is just a little bit longer. You might remember it's area equals your height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. So let's get a spot for our answer. A equals. And we just need to plug in our numbers. Well, first we need to figure out what's what. So where is base 1? Where is base 2? Where is our height? So remember, it doesn't matter which one you call base 1 and base 2. I'll call this base 1. And I'll call this one base 2. Now, do you remember which one is the height? Is it the 6 or the 8? Well, hopefully you remember that it has to be this one. It's the one that forms a right angle with the base. So that's our height. So we just need to plug everything in. So our height is 6. Our base 1 is 7. Base 2 is 12. Take that, divided by 2. So we end up with 6 times 19 divided by 2. Move down here. 6 times 19 is, let's see, 114 divided by 2. Well, 114 divided by 2 is 57. So our answer would be 57 square centimeters, or centimeters squared. 57 centimeters squared. So we just found the area of a trapezoid. So it was our height, the sum of our two bases, base 1, base 2, and then we got that divided by 2. So 7 plus 12 was 19. 6 times 19 was 114. And then we had to divide that by 2, which gave us 57 centimeters squared. Okay, well hopefully that wasn't too bad for you. Hope you have an awesome day. I'll see you in class.